Welcome to this podcast from the PCPLD Network. This is a space where everyone's voice is heard, a series to open up conversations about life, death, grief, and people with a learning disability.
What would you like to do before you die? What's on your bucket list? And why do people have bucket lists? That's the topic for this, our second podcast of the PCPLD Network. Welcome, I'm Irene Tuffrey-Wijne, and today I'm in conversation with Gemma Allen. Like me, Gemma has worked with hospice patients for many years and with people with learning disabilities. In this podcast series, you will also hear the voices of people with learning disabilities and get their take on the topics we discuss. You will hear members of the grassroots group who I meet with every month. Today we are joined by David, Amanda, Peter, Pat and Vince.
I was really wondering where that term actually comes from, and I looked it up, and I didn't realise that it's only been used for about 15 years. It came into usage really with that film. I don't know if you've seen that. Jack Nicholson and Morgan Freeman did a film called The Bucket List, where these two terminally ill men escape from a cancer ward and off they go on a road trip, things to do before they kick the bucket, before they die, and it's called The Bucket Lists. Basically, they want to travel the world and do things. So that's, I think, what people think of, don't they, when they talk about what's on your bucket list, things that you want to do before you die. What springs to mind when you hear that?
I think of skydives and parachute jumps and adrenaline-fueled sports that people want to do, either that or, like you say, travelling. But then, like you, I've also been having a good think about it, really. Does making a bucket list help us to live our lives to the fullest? Does it really pinpoint the things that we really want to do, so we make sure that we do it and we spend our time doing those things that matter to us?
Talking about what's on our bucket list, travelling is indeed what people in our group thought of first.
I have, yes. I've heard of a bucket list. A bucket list is a list of things you want to do before you actually do the kicking, or shall I say, kick the bucket. I've done a few things that I wanted to do. I've been up Snowdon once. I didn't quite make it to the summit. I kind of chickened out at the last minute. It's all very well going up, but you've got to think about going back down as well. I have got a few things I'd like to do there before I kick the bucket.
Well, I've been up Ben Nevis, up in Scotland back in 1980. Something like that I would like to do again. I've been to Denmark, I've been to France. I wouldn't mind going to for the US, Los Angeles, San Francisco, them sort of places. But also, we're going to go back to Denmark again. Nice place.
Making the most of the life that I have by going on holiday and doing lots of different things. I've been to Disney World. I've been to both. I've been to the one in Florida and the one in Euro Disney France. To go to different countries that I haven't been to before, like maybe Canada, and I would like to go on a cruise as well. But I would have to find someone obviously to come with me.
I went to Australia last year and it was such a life-affirming experience that I would love to go back before I die. That would be one place that I'd love to go back to. I went on my own, so I'd love to go back and experience it with people I love as well.
You went to Australia on your own, Gemma? Goodness me, wow.
I did, Vince. It was a very exhilarating experience. I did nearly turn around at Birmingham Airport. I actually rang my mum, nearly in tears, but not quite, saying, I can't do this, I'm coming home, I'm getting the train home. And she said, Gemma, get on that plane and enjoy it. So I did.
I did want to go to Australia. I've never been to Australia. In fact, I think I've achieved a lot, but I haven't really called it a bucket list, because not everyone here knows how old I am. I was 74 on Monday. In my middle 40s, I learned to drive, passed my test, and I was driving for, must have been about 16 years.
The thing is, if you make that bucket list because you're terminally ill, I was just sort of hearing of a terminally ill woman who's got about a year, she's been given about a year to live. And she's realised that she's too tired to do the things on her bucket list. She's not well enough to do the travelling of the world. So I think it's really interesting that it started off as things people want to do, looking at death, fearing that it's near, to maybe now have more to do with things you want to do someday. Maybe your bucket list is what you make when you're well and not close to dying. Because when you're close to dying, you're right, you want to think about how you want to spend those last months, and that might not be by skydiving. It might be by sitting, having a cup of tea, but watching telly with people you love.
My bucket list is to travel to New York at Christmas, 22nd, 23rd of December. That is my bucket list.
I remember reading something from a terminally ill doctor. I've forgotten his name now. But he said, actually, what I want to do with what life I've got left depends on how much it is. And if I knew it was a week, then I would stop work, I would do absolutely nothing else, I would spend it with my family only. If it was 2 years, I'd write a book. If I knew it was 10 years, I'd carry on working for another couple of years. And that's the difficulty. So that's trying to fit in your bucket list and the things that you really want to do. The many people I've seen in the hospice who've come in, they've just retired, they've worked really hard all their lives. Finally, they think, now I'm going to do all the things I want to do, and then they get ill and they never get to do any of it. So that is a difficult balance, isn't it? To both fit in the skydive, but also the time to watch telly with your family and to walk through crunchy autumn leaves.
And to die with no regret. We've both sat with people when they die. We've heard of people with those regrets, haven't we, that they worked too much, or that they didn't enjoy the time that they could have spent with the family, or they wish they'd have done this or done that. And I think that must be a really sad and lonely feeling, to have those regrets when you're dying and know that it's too late to do anything about them.
That made us think, what are bucket lists really about? And how does your bucket list change as you get older or more unwell?
The reason why they call it a bucket list is probably because there's a lot of things that they would like to do.
Because they really want to do something before they can't do it.
Well, I've done a couple of things that were on my mum's to-do list, and she never got round to doing them. I remember her saying she felt rather jealous that I've done some of the things that she always wanted to do. One of those things was going to Helmsfirth, a place called Helmsfirth in Yorkshire, where the famous comedy series Last of the Summer Wine was filmed. A lovely comedy series, and it was always one of my mum's favourites. But me and my friend, we went there once, and we sat in the famous cafe, and we had a cup of tea and that, and it was just wonderful to be there, really.
But how amazing, Vince, that you were able to achieve what was on your mum's to-do list. So even though she wasn't able to do it, you almost carried your mum's legacy on by doing the things that she wanted to do.
Yeah, I remember her saying when she was alive, I mean, she's not here anymore, but I remember her saying, I wish I'd have gone there. When I told her I was going there and I've been there, I remember saying to her, well, you know, Mum, you've had 50 years, you could have gone there.
You haven't got the strength anymore. This is what happened to me. Your brain tells you that, oh, you can do that, and your body says, no, you can't. So you're fighting between your brain and your body. And there'll be a time when you've got to realise that you just can't do the same things you used to be able to do when you were younger. So, but I'm fighting it, and it's a bit of a hopeless case, really, because my body is 74 years old. So it can't last forever, can it? So actually accepting that and not fighting it, I suppose.
It is probably about adapting to change as time goes on.
We talked with the group about people who can't communicate easily what it is that they really want to do. Can people with severe learning disabilities have a bucket list? And if so, what can we do to support that?
It's hard because life is so wonderful. There's a lot going on at the moment, but life is to experience for everybody, and how they experience that, whether they have a learning disability or not. And no matter how severe the learning disability is, it's living your life to the full and reaching your full potential for everybody, not just for people with learning disabilities. It's very, very important for everybody. People with severe and multiple learning disabilities, and you can know they don't speak, but they speak with their body. They speak with their eyes. You know, I get so passionate about that. I get passionate about a lot of things, but that I get very passionate about, because this is not the be all and end all. Your mouth is not your be and end all. You've got other abilities to talk. So if you were to happen to lose your voice, you've got other abilities.
Even if you have a very severe and profound learning disability, it's about living life to the full, isn't it? And doing the things that make you happy, which you can see even if somebody doesn't speak. You can see if they're happy or not. Knowing what makes somebody happy in life.
And the people that work with them should know that. It should be about finding out what makes them tick, you know, what makes them who they are. Independence, that's a very important word, isn't it? Friendship is also a very, very important part of life as well, isn't it?
David explained to me how his bucket list has changed as he got older.
I've always thought that I wanted to go to America, to go to Elvis Presley's Graceland as a fan and everything. But then it costs a hell of a lot of money. You're talking £16,000. But that's what I thought then. Now, I would like just to spend my life with my partner and going along as we are, making her happy, you know, loving her to bits, trying to get a job so I can spend money on her. I mean, I spend money on her now, but a little bit more. Buy her new clothes and make sure that she's got, you know, stuff like that. If she runs low, that's my wish.
I was quite struck really by what David said when we talked to him about his bucket list, how he used to want to go to New York, you know, to America to see, you know, the things. But now actually he realized all he wants to do is spend time with his partner and make her happy and content. I think that's just so profoundly wonderful to be aware of that, you know, most people aren't.
One young man, he was very religious, so it was really important to him to continue going to church. That was all that he wanted to do before he died, and watch Britain's Got Talent is what gives your life your greatest meaning. And I think that can only be defined by you.
A man I knew who also died of cancer, he had quite severe learning disabilities, a good friend of mine. He just wanted to go to work, you know, and work in the end was work by osmosis, you know, maybe watching other people work, but just being around with people. Literally, actually, up to the day he died. He was really ill, and so what the staff team around him did, which I thought was wonderful, is, you know, spend all his little remaining energy on wheeling him into where he used to work. And he would sit there for half an hour and then he'd been to work and he'd come back, really up to literally the day before he died. So, you know, you're right, it's really sort of understanding what it is that gives people's lives meaning, that makes them tick and that makes them content and happy. It's almost a spiritual thing as well, isn't it? What gives your life meaning?
It's taking away the layers, isn't it? Because I think if we were to put out now on our website, what's your bucket list goal, I don't think people would necessarily go for what we'd class as the smaller things first. And you start unravelling, you come completely full circle, don't you, back to what matters most to people.
What people often want and need to do is to look back on their lives and to see what meaning it had, and really to go full circle. People want to sometimes just revisit, and so that they can understand the whole meaning of their life. They want to feel that that it has mattered, and that that their life was worthwhile. Seeing friends and family happy, all those things are so important, aren't they? We run the Linda McInhill Award, so for outstanding practice for end-of-life care of people with a learning disability. And I've been on the judging panel for years. It's extraordinary how often Christmas features in those nominations. And actually, I remember that from working in the hospice, my hospice days, how many people actually really wanted to see Christmas. In fact, the death rate was always high on Boxing Day. People had made it. So Christmas, so many people doing wonderful work and effort to help people see another Christmas, to the point of having Christmas celebrated in the summer. So.
Yes, we always kept our Christmas trees out for that reason. So Christmas parties, Christmas lunches throughout the year. Did a graduation party once for one family because the person knew they weren't going to be there to see the daughter graduate. And that takes the staff, doesn't it, to pull that together. So first of all, you need to make sure there's somebody who's actually listening to that person and what it is that they want.
So Gemma and I started thinking, if we dig deeper than the trips and the travels we haven't done, what is on our own bucket lists, really?
I'd just quite like to see my children settled. That would be enough for me. I'm not sure I'd need anything else.
Being there when your children reach these important moments in life and become independent adults, that's important. But that's not something I can do anything about. If you ask me what's on my bucket list, well, I've always wanted to cycle from Land's End to John O'Groats, or to cycle all the way around the Netherlands.
We thought we'd chosen a light-hearted topic for this podcast, but it turns out to be incredibly profound and fundamental. Thank you to Gemma Allen, David Jeffrey, Vince Peters, Amanda Cresswell, Peter Allam and Pat Charlesworth. Talking to them has made me ask myself these questions. How can I live my life to the full, and how can I make sure that I die with no regrets? I invite you to really think about this. What is on your bucket list?
You know, if there's something you really want to do in your life, just do it when you can, haven't you? Because you don't know when your time's up.
Because life is so precious. Life is very precious.
You listened to an episode from the PCPLD Network podcast series. Thank you for joining us. For more information and resources, please visit our website www.pcpld.org. We are also on Twitter and Instagram. Take care of yourselves and each other. Until next time.